What is up, YouTube? Trollking here. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Draw Phase. And in today's video, we're going over a new Jinx deck. It is not made by me. It is made by one of my friends that I play with online, Oni the Shadow. Shout out to him for this really cool deck list. We had this conversation like a couple days ago of why isn't Jinx represented well in the meta, and it is because of a few things that are lacking in the colors. So we committed to a whole entire stream trying to figure out and making a great Jinx deck list, and Oni came out with something really good that I really enjoyed and I wanted to showcase in this video. But before we get into it, if you haven't already, please subscribe. You automatically enter yourself to win a Proving Grounds box set. You click a button, you might win something. Obviously in October, it will be in English, and as soon as I get the product and we hit 500 subscribers, I'll send it away in your direction. So let's get straight into it because this is really cool. I love... because the meta has settled, right? There's tons of tournaments, the regionals and everything. Kai'Sa came up on top in the first official regional qualifier, and Master Yi was overly represented. I think there was like 48% or 47% of people playing Master Yi, but Jinx wasn't really up there. So why? It is one of the structure decks. So let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at this deck list that Oni came up with and break down what makes this better than the typical aggro version of it. So Jinx Loose Cannon is the legend. At the start of your beginning phase, draw one if you have one or fewer cards in your hand. So if you have one or fewer cards, obviously you could just draw two, right, at the beginning of your turn. It is a good ability when you are, like, if you're lacking a hand, right? The issue is, what is the payoff of discarding cards? And it seemed like through the discussions that it wasn't there yet, right? There wasn't enough payoff for discarding cards to gain momentum, except for a couple certain combinations, which we'll go over in a second. The rune breakdown is 6 and 6, Fury and Chaos. Right, we'll just show it right there. And then Zon Warrens, obviously one of the better ones for Jinx because you were discarding. When you conquer here, discard one, then draw one. Yeah, helps you discard. Also, ganking is turns out to be pretty useful, just for mobility, right? Units here have ganking in Windswept Hillock, and Obelisk of Power. Players channel one additional rune during their first runic phase this game. The costs of a lot of early game cards have power integrated into them, so we want to make sure we have that extra rune early game so we can commit to big plays early on for a little bit of aggressiveness. The thing with this, a lot of Jinx decks is that it has no end game and has very little mid game, but this list actually is pretty strong in the mid game, and if not so, just as much in the late game. So we are running all the Jinxes: Jinx Demolitionist, Accelerate, for a 3 energy, 1 power. Obviously, you pay the 1 rune and 1 power, with 4 might, and it has Assault +2 when you play me, discard 2. So obviously adding to that discard, minimizing your hand so you get that bonus from the legend ability. The Jinx that actually shines in this deck, which I think is really cool because not a lot of people are playing with it, is the Jinx Rebel. For 5 energy, 1 power, and 5 might. When you discard one or more cards, ready me and give me +1 this turn. Now, you might look at this and be like, well, you know, there are things that you can discard, but it's like really like you need to commit a lot of energy and if not power in things like Get Excited or moving with Traveling Merchant, and or Chemtech Enforcer. So it's hard to combo these things, but we'll get to what really shines in this deck in just a second with Jinx Rebel. I found this card to be much better than the other one. The other one is good, right, because of its Accelerate, but the power cost to it is really good, and then it just sits at 4 because it is an Assault 2, right? So if it's at a base and it's not being interacted with, even if it's being attacked, you know, that 4 might is kind of just like it's missing 1 or 2 points in might that make it kind of stronger. We are running Seals because of the power commitment is like really heavy, in my opinion, when it comes to Jinx decks. So Seals are always good. Obviously, you know, at reaction speed, you can add a power, and it only costs a power to play. So you can float a mana, you can drop it down, and then you can combo things relatively well. Cleave is actually really important to overcome those Master Yi decks that are just sitting on a battlefield, and for those that also play Mask of Foresight, giving them extra +1. That Assault +3 is very, very crucial, I think, to overcoming, especially if you're topping on top, if you're putting on top of This Jinx, when it's getting ready, so it gets at 6, so it swings in for 9. It can kill volley bears, which is really strong, or the deflect volley bear at least. And yeah, it's just a good, just one cost card to get over your opponent's might. Get excited! One of the coolest removals in the game, I think. I was running a reanimator deck, like you'll see in the gameplay coming up. I ran a reanimator Jinx, and he ran this list, and he came out on top. I was also running Get Excited. Get Excited is one of those interesting cards where you can kind of like, depending on what's in your hand, pick and choose what to remove with the damage it commits to with the amount of might, or I'm sorry, with the energy cost of the card that you discard. So for 2 energy, 1 power, at action speed, discard 1, deal its energy cost as damage to a unit at a battlefield. Ignoring its power cost. So, it's only the number rune. It's only the numbered energy that commits to it. So, if we look at things like Rasa, 10 damage, 10 damage to something by discarding it. That's insane. Sometimes you just want to get over Rasa for a good 10 damage. It is technically the most amount of damage you could do with a spell. 10 is the most runes for anything except for maybe a volley bear, the 12 cost one, which is ridiculous. But yeah, other than that, 10 damage will do it. Pretty insane. So the next card is Traveling Merchant, a card that we should all be familiar with. For 2 energy, for 2 might, when I move, discard 1, then draw 1. So one thing to notice, that's very important, when it moves. So the showdown doesn't initiate, right, because it is being moved. And before the showdown initiates and damage is resolved, the effect pops off. So at least you get to do the effect before it actually might die or any type of battle tricks happens to it. So yeah, really, really good, because moving happens first, right? You can't stop a unit from moving. So coincides with the discard. Now the card, the bread and butter, what I think was the deck, Unlicensed Armory, a card we don't really see much, but I don't know why. Like, if you want to run a Jinx deck, you should always have this in your arsenal. Unlicensed Armory, 2 energy. It reads discard 1 and tap. So there's no energy cost, there's no nothing. You're just discarding a card. Choose a friendly unit. The next time it dies this turn, you may pay a power to recall it exhausted instead, which means it gets all its buffs if it has buffs on it, and so forth. Yeah, it's really good because it activates Rebel Jinx. So if you have Unlicensed Armory and you drop down a Jinx, right, you can use this effect not only to discard a card, but because of the way Jinx reads, right, as soon as you discard, it gets +1 and ready, so it's sitting at 6, ready to go into a battlefield. If you have 2 Jinx off, obviously they double trigger. The really cool thing is that you can have a Jinx on a battlefield, right? It is your turn. You move it back. It's exhausted then, right? Then you use Unlicensed Armory. Then it just like sits back up, and you can go into the other battlefield. If you're not at Windswept Hillock, you can add a Cleave to it. Does some damage. Like you'll see in the gameplay, it makes Jinx incredibly mobile, and I think that's one thing that kind of lacks in the Jinx decks is mobility, right? Obviously, the accelerate cost is something that is a little faster, but it's, the cost is, a rune and a power. And in a heavy power consistent deck, we have Inverted Timelines, we have Phoenix, we have the Super Mega Death Rocket, we have Rasas. It's just not many that we don't run that many cards. We run a lot of 3-ofs in this deck list, right? But the fact that it makes the big drop in Jinx Rebel mobile, super strong. Like, I lost to this deck. It's really good and consistent, actually. You do have to think differently, right? Because you have to really understand what do you want to keep and what do you want to discard. Going into the other discards, we're running 3 of Chemtech Enforcer. So 2 energy, 2 might, and Assault 2. Really good card. When you play me, discard 1. So it swings in for 4 at Assault at a 2 cost, and it plays into your discard gameplay game style very well. Another thing I forgot to mention is that the other thing is that, like, it's basically you can pay a power to, if Jinx dies, to just bring it back. It just comes back to your base, so you're not losing it, which is really strong. So Immortal Phoenix, really great. One of the best red cards in the game, I think. The fact, we'll just read it. So 3 energy, 1 power, 3 might. Assault 2, really strong, so it goes up to 3 to a 5. When you kill a unit with the spell, you may pay 1 and a power to play me from your trash, which is really cool because you can play it at battlefields that you've already conquered, right? And or to your base for the next turn to swing into a battlefield, more than likely taking out something small, being held on by your opponent. I really like this because like Super Mega Death Rocket is a really good card when it comes to removal, right? Because it just keeps on coming back to your hand. We'll talk about that in a second. Before we do that, we're going to look at Flame Chompers. The best combo you can do is turn 1 if you have 3 runes activated with Obelisk of Power. You can easily play Chemtech Enforcer, right? And then you discard Flame Chompers and you spend the power to play Chemtech Enforcer. Really, really, really strong. So you have 5 might on board, plus the 2 for the assault, and you can swing on to both battlefields. More than guaranteed 2 points, right? Because your opponent's second turn can't really do much. Next, to play into the discard game, we are running inverted timelines. 3 energy, 1 power. Each player discards their hand, then draws 4. Sometimes you're going to be in a control matchup where the opponent has lots of cards in hand, and you just want to minimize that. Or if they are not doing things, right? If they have open runes and they're playing against Master Yi or maybe a Lee Sin or Yasuo, anything with green, the Wind Wall, the Defies, the disciplines, the on guards, right? If they're telegraphing that they're holding on to some battlefields, and they're like, come on, like just come and try and take these from me, right? And they have disciplines, they have answers to kind of stop your game playing. Just get rid of their hand. Get rid of the hand. Get rid of all the answers they have in their hand. Let them draw 4, and then you can draw 4 as well. If it is the last card in hand, you get the 2, and then you can play. You get the 2 cards draws from Jinx. You could play them. Then maybe you can play invert timelines, restock your hand. That's also a really good turn. More to counteract the reactions of your opponent, right? But still very good and very crucial, especially in this meta. Then we are running Super Mega Death Rocket, the signature spell for Jinx. For 4 energy, 1 power, deal 5 to a unit. When you conquer, you may discard 1 card to return this from your trash to your hand. So it synergizes incredibly well with the deck, right? It is a card that you can play over and over and over and over again, discarding and just drawing into your deck. Is really strong when it comes to Jinx. The thing is, like we said, the late game is like failing a little bit. So at this point, when you're like, have a couple cards in hand, you're playing your Death Rockets, you're top decking a bunch of stuff. Now you want to be sitting with Jinx on board, right, for the mid to late game, and possibly popping down some Rasas, right? So let's just take a look at Rasa. Rasa the Sunderer, 10 energy, 1 power, 6 might. So it plays well with Get Excited. Like I said before, it deals 10 damage to anything. Costs 1 less for each card in your trash. So if you're digging into your deck and you have these and you don't need the removal, then you could play a 6 might unit for 1 power. Now, this mid game that you're playing right now, you just want to overwhelm your opponent to the point where they're using all their resources to kind of catch up with your aggressiveness, right? And then shut them down from there. We found out that like the late game, Jinx will just fall off because it just doesn't have enough support. That's just the way the deck plays, the colors play, unfortunately. So you want to overwhelm your opponent in the mid game to the point where they can't react back. And this deck is probably the best list with Jinx that does it. Mainly because of Rasas, because of Death Rockets for the removal, because of Rebel Jinx, and because of this guy right here, Brazen Buccaneer. Now, it is only a 5 might unit, however, it has a clean energy cost of 6, right? And as you play me, you may discard a card as an additional cost. If you do, reduce my cost by 2. We're doing a lot of things in our turn, right? We're playing a lot of different cards to empty out our hand, but just because we're able to. So reducing the cost by this Brazen Buccaneer by 2, so it's a 4 cost, is important. We're putting might on board. We're playing things cheaper than before, and we are just trying to overwhelm our opponent with Jinx Rebel by readying her up, by triggering Unlicensed Armory. Unlicensed Armory's main target should be Super Mega Death Rocket, because if you're discarding Death Rocket, you're readying your Jinx that you've played. It goes in for 6, maybe even 9 with a cleave, right? It is conquering, and then you are just putting Death Rocket back into your hand. It is fodder for the I'm sorry. It is fodder for the unlicensed army, right? As long as you are conquering, scoring points, you get this back in hand. You discard it with unlicensed armory. You're moving in with a Jinx, right? You're readying it again by discarding Super Mega Death Rocket. You're pulling it back into base, and then you're just waiting to react, your opponent to react, right? Sometimes you don't want to be in the situations where you just want to leave your units on the base, but rather pull back and see what they're doing, right? If you're ahead on points, you can do that, and you can just double conquer for the win. So what a cool deck list, guys. Like, definitely try it out. Don't give up on those heroes, except for Garen. Or, I'm sorry, legends. Except for Garen, because Garen's just, oops, sorry, guys. Garen's just a little, not that great at this moment. Maybe we'll commit a stream to trying to make Garen great. But yeah, that is the deck list. Definitely check it out. The description will be in the, I'm sorry, the deck list will be in the description. It is made by Oni the Shadow. Shout out to him. Thank you very much for sharing the deck list with us. Other than that, if you haven't already, please subscribe. Remember, you enter yourself to win a Proving Grounds box set. With that being said, I've talked enough. Let's get straight to the gameplay. Thank you guys so much for your support. I hope you have a wonderful day and enjoy the gameplay. Peace. Alrighty, Shulking here. How you guys doing? So here we are with the Jinx gameplay. Oni on the Shadow is on the right. We have Hallowed Tomb and Windswept Hillock as the battlefields. His first turn, he already played Chemtech Enforcer. I am running a Reanimator build. I decided not to play anything. Because I didn't really want to decide discard anything into my my hand yet, and kind of just wanted to react as to what he's doing. I wanted to keep the big cards in my hand so I can discard them with Get Excited. Even though like you're targeting like something really small, it's all right, just as long as they're in the graveyard to try and reanimate them in the future. So he tries to move in into the Vile Maw lair, or sorry, Hallowed Tomb. And then I responded with a Get Excited. He passes over, leaving his runes open, so I'm curious as to what he's doing. Or we're taking a slow approach to this game. I, again, have nothing really to do, but I do want to at least progress on maybe a Chemtech Warrior, or even committing to my Jinx. I decided to commit to the Jinx. Not accelerated, though. Because the cost is too high. I want to do some things reactively with either a Hextech Ray and or another Get Excited if he decides to pop anything down. I decided to discard because I have to discard 2 because of the Jinx. I discard a Get Excited and the Chemtech Chemtech Enforcer. Sorry, guys. I do have some removal in hand. The gameplay from my end for the Reanimator build was just to control the early game and then start reanimating things from the graveyard with the Harrowing and or Soul Gorger. But I am not the focus of this video. His build is much better in my opinion. So he decides to Get Excited, discarding the Rebel Jinx. However, he misread the card, and it reads out of battlefield, so he couldn't really do it. Misplays happen, you know. We are all still learning, and rather learning the games when it's low stakes, just having fun. Then if you're like at a card event, at your local card shop, and then making these mistakes, then that's fine. It happens. So I decided to let him replay everything, grab his Rebel Jinx back, and then sort of just play from there. So he's still on his turn. He's got everything open with 6 runes, and he taps his runes up to 5, probably more than likely playing his Rebel Jinx onto the battlefield. Yep, there it is. That is the good version of it. I was really pleasantly surprised with this card. It just seemed and felt like something better because you get benefit from discarding, right? And I think that's the way you have to build this deck. is like what pluses are you getting from discarding. So on my turn, I draw a Volley Bear top deck, looking pretty grim for me. I don't really have any answers except for the Falling Star, which I might commit to. I swing in the Jinx to Windswept Hillock with the idea that it does have ganking. The battlefield does give ganking to the units there, so with the benefit of the assault, I could hop over if he decides to conquer, so I get the benefit of the +2 to my might from the assault. Pretty standard play, but that's like what I was thinking. I commit to a Falling Star to double ping onto the Rebel Jinx. I just want to keep his board nice and tight, nice and clean, so I can get into the late game. The issue is right now I'm back down to 3 runes. And it's just a little rough. It's hard to get there to the reanimator state without any seals on the board, because we want to manage our resources as best as possible so we can get to the harrowing, so we can get to the soul gorger, and kind of start reanimating the big threats from our trash. So now that Jinx is on the battlefield, it is able to be get excited and removed. He's just trying to figure out what card does he want to discard. He decides to commit to a inverted timelines. It does 3 damage. It is at 1 now. And then another get excited, discarding Cleave. Now you're wondering, well, what is he doing? Why is he discarding so many cards? Well, it's because that's what the deck does, right? He wants it. There's no downside of discarding, because if you're playing Rasa and you're top decking it with the Jinx Legend ability, then you're getting some benefit from having so many cards into the graveyard. So he pops down his Unlicensed Armory, which combos very well with Rebel Jinx. I top deck a Brazen Buccaneer. I play my Brazen Buccaneer, discarding card to make its cost 2 less, and also putting the Volley Bear into the graveyard for future plays. I'm sitting on only 1 card, so I'll be able to draw from 2. So it's not like the end of all. Like, I'm not going to slow down at all, because I do get the benefit from drawing more cards with the Legend ability. And I'm just trying to play the early game with a lot of control, a lot of removal, maybe score some points when I can. And then at the end, I will be reanimating big things from my side. Now on his board, look at his state is a lot better than I am. He has a lot more resource management, right? He drops down his 2nd Unlicensed Armory, so that makes Rebel Jinx really good. He plays the Demolitionist Jinx, unaccelerated. He does have to discard 2, but since he has no cards in hand, that effect doesn't happen, which is really one cool thing with discard mechanic. You get no downside if you do not have to, if you have nothing to discard. So I have my Soul Gorger in hand. However, I don't have enough runes ready. I wasn't managing my resources very well. However, I just needed to make sure that his side of the board was nice and tight and empty. So I move in the Brazen Buccaneer to Windswept Hillock, score a point, and then switching over to his turn. So he decides to ready up. Jinx effects, I'm sorry. Jinx triggers. He draws a card, then he draws 4 turn. Readies his runes, and now I think this is when you see the deck actually really pop off. So he taps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 for the Rebel Jinx from his chosen champion unit. And this is where it gets really crazy. So he taps his Unlicensed Armory, discarding Inverted Timelines. It readies up the Jinx. It gives it +1, right? Making it very, very, very mobile. And the +1 is actually really crazy, because it does mitigate like breakpoints when it comes to might. So he moves in his Rebel Jinx, right? I try to Hextech Ray. And the thing is, Buckenbreznier dies. However, because of unlicensed armory, the Rebel Jinx just comes back to base. Yeah, that's really good. That is really, really good. And yeah, so he moves in the other Jinx Demolitionist into Windswept Hillock. Dude, what crazy plays, what mobility. And honestly, you have to play like really conservatively. You have to make sure that you are pulling your units back, right? Saving them because you've built up this combo, and you don't want to lose the combo if you're losing your units. So pulling back is actually not that crazy of a idea. You know, sometimes you just don't want to win by holding. Sometimes you want to win by conquering. So he switches over the turn to me. I ready up, and then I'm going to start animating because I believe I do have enough in 8. Yep. I do have enough runes in 8. I believe I reanimate the Volibear. And just as a little heads up, like, he does take the game back, even though I do commit to a reanimating a Volibear, which is insane. It's just a testament to how good this deck by Oni actually is. So I play my Soul Goger. I pay the 2 Chaos runes, right? I target the Volibear. I was thinking about targeting the Cage again just to draw 2 cards, but, you know, I do that anyway with Jinx, so what was the point of, you know, grabbing that card? So I picked the Volibear because it's just stronger. It swings in for 5 damage, much like Yasuo. And I'm just stacking back the cards into the trash. So that is my whole turn, and unfortunately, look at my runes, guys. I am down to 4. That is a heavy cost for reanimating some things that you could just easily cheat out with Dazzling Aurora, which is why I think Reanimator isn't that strong yet. I tried it out to see if it works better in Jinx than it does in Annie. However, I just think you need seals, right, before you commit to the big reanimation plays, just to keep up with tempo and manage your resources a little better. So I move in the Merchant, discarding a Get Excited, because the move happens first. And I draw another Soul Gorger, which is good, but I can't really play it next turn. I would have to wait 2 turns because of the power commitment and the energy cost. So Energy Merchant. Traveling Merchant will score a point. I have a Volibear on deck. I thought I was feeling pretty good. You know, 14 might on base, 2 on board. The issue is he has 3 cards in hand. He can double tap his unlicensed armory, and then, you know, that's also very dangerous because Jinx Rebel can just move around very mobily. So he decides to gank over because of Windswept Hillock, gets the benefit of Assault 2. Also very good. Makes that Jinx a little strong. Also, interesting fact, you cannot give Cleave to a Jinx. It has Assault 2. Since it already has the keyword Assault, a unit in the rules cannot have 2 of the same keywords in it. So it only stays with the Assault 2. It does just not get the benefit of the Assault 3. Really weird, like, FAQ ruling is just awkward, but yeah, it's just the way the game works. So the reason he was discarding all those cards early game was to make a cheap Rasa. So for 1 power, actually I think he tapped 2 and then paid the power, which is still good for a 6 might unit. Putting it at base, building up an army, switches over to me because he doesn't need to overcommit, right? And I think that's something that people tend to misplay with Jinx because the idea is that it's like an aggressive deck, but just because you are ahead or tied up on points, right, doesn't mean you should overcommit. So I play a, so I move in. I believe I commit to killing the Jinx with Volibear because Volibear is strong. Oh no, I move over the Soul Gorger. So the Jinx dies. I score a point. I'm up to 4. I feel really good because I have a Volibear at base. I don't think I commit to actually moving in. I want to save it for any type of reactory situations. In hindsight, I should have just played it, but I'm not too sure. I forget exactly. Hallowed Tomb, we were discussing that it has to be the chosen champion. Not exactly the chosen champion, but a copy of it. That wording also has been clarified in the FAQ. So, going back to the game. What does he do now? Oh, it's still my turn. So okay, I'm waiting to pass the turn. That's it. That's what's going on. And I'm trying to figure out if I want to move into the Windswept Hillock. I decide not to because, Volibear sitting there is kind of really weak. And what I mean by that is, like, at a base, when it has that benefit of +5, it does have Deflect 2, which is really good. Oh, I forgot to play the Chemtech Enforcer. He allowed me, so, I developed a little more might on base. Switching over to his turn, he's thinking of what to do next, and I believe he starts to pop off with the Rebel Jinxes in this turn, which is like a really cool combo. You do need 2 Unlicensed Armory to make it really mobile, but 1 is sufficient enough because it does get the benefit of surviving because of the recall effect that Unlicensed Armory gives it. Unlicensed Armory effect does stack, it's just as long as it gets recalled back and you can target it again. Because if it were two indications of the recall on the Rebel Jinx, right, then they would both trigger at the same time. Whereas if you do one after another, then it can come back twice if it's readied by discarding a card. So, yeah, Wrath of the Sunder, he's got a lot of might on his base, and for very cheap too, without overcommitting to energy resources and or power. Kills my Soul Gorger with his Rasa, moves in the Rebel Jinx here to score a point, and no, he sees the Volibear at my base, so he knows it's gonna just kill it my turn. So he decides to tap Unlicensed Armory, readying Jinx, giving it +1, so he's able to move back into his base, making Jinx incredibly mobile, like I was saying before. He's ahead on points now. He's winning technically. I do draw the Harrowing. I do draw. I also have a Soul Gorger in my hand, and I'm popping off right now. Right, like I have the things I need to. I have big things in my trash, so I can reanimate them. I move into Windswept Hillock with my Chemtech Enforcer, score a point, tie it up. I then decide to, I believe, move in here with the Volibear. Does 5 damage, and then it's 1 left, and then the showdown happens, and then Volibear just takes the base. Or the battlefield, I'm sorry. So, still very good. Like, it feels good. I feel like I'm ahead. And then, I believe I missed the trigger. No, I had 2 cards in hand. And then I feel really good. I'm deciding if I want to actually commit to a Soul Gorger to play a Kadrigan, or just the Harrowing. The Harrowing is cheaper. Yeah. So I'm at 6 points. I decide to commit to a Harrowing, targeting Kadrigan, the Infernal. Looking through in the bottom of the trash. Yeah, so pop that back. I have 2 mighty units, so I get to draw 2 cards. And then, I decided to play it on the battlefield. It's a little bit of overcommitment, but I just wanted to hold the game. Like I'm in range of winning the game by a double hold, right? And I was able to draw 2 cards, feeling pretty good. My runes are all gone again. I decided to commit to another Traveling Merchant. I'm thinking it comes in early because of the other. Brazen Scorcher, and then I'm sitting at base, Kadrian, Chemtech Enforcer on Windswept Hillock, a Volibear on Hallowed Tomb, feeling pretty good, should be able to win. He has 3 cards in hand. He has a Rebel Jinx. I'm not scared. I'm like, okay, I got this. My Jinx deck is better than his. However, boy, was I wrong, because here he comes to steal the game away. Looking into his combo. We're just discussing right now what type of card. Yeah. We're just discussing Rasa right now. How I think it should belong in any type of Jinx deck, right? You're discarding a lot. It should become a staple. And I believe that. I really think you should just play Rasa in your deck if you're playing Jinx, right? Because just the making it cheaper and for, you know, basically a power for 6 might is a really, really good trade-off for the mid game. So he pays 1 to give his Rebel Jinx cleave, right? So it's sitting at 8. And then he targets his Unlicensed Armory, discarding a Phoenix. Unlicensed Armory discards. Rebel Jinx gets another +1 on top of the cleave. It also protects the Rebel Jinx in the sense that it will be recalled if it is destroyed. So with 9, 10, 11, so he's damage happens with Kadrian, right? So Jinx Rebel is recalled. Comes in. And it still has the Assault 3 because it is recalled, right? Because it gives it Assault 3 for this turn, and the turn is not over. Then he targets his other unlicensed armory, untapping the Rebel Jinx, giving the +1, discarding the card, gives it protection, and swings in to kill a Volibear. Kill a Volibear with a Rebel Jinx. That's insane. Really cool play. And then he moves in his Rasa to the Windswept Hillock, killing my Chemtech Enforcer. Going up to 7, he's sitting very, very well on the base, and he just takes the game from me. There is nothing that I could do at this point. That was an extremely good play. It just shows that Unlicensed Armory and Rebel is the way to go when building a Jinx deck. You're not going for the long game. However, if you focus on a strong mid game, you will take it from here. So at this point, I concede. There's nothing I could do, nothing I can react to. He will hold the score and win the game. So shout out to Oni the Shadow for sharing the deck list. Try it out, guys. Have fun. I think it's really important not to give up on some legends just because they're not being represented on the tournaments. And honestly, the game is here so that we can have fun, not just to play competitively and win yet. So yeah, thanks guys for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.